Tonight, jobs up for grabs. Key stakeholders meet to discuss the big renewable projects coming to the Upper Spencer Gulf. And let there be perfect light. Broken Hill's annual Film Fest returns outdoors as crowds take in the unique short films.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Madeline Kerr begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. The Port Augusta Economic Forum has revealed big updates for major projects across the Upper Spencer Gulf. Port Bonython's hydrogen export hub and Hallett Group's green cement plant in Port Augusta are moving ahead, with construction expected in the near future.
Business owners, contractors and members of Port Augusta City Council crammed into Central Oval for the Port Augusta Economic Forum. Organised by RDA Far North, the meeting sparked excitement as the big renewable projects moved one step closer.
To showcase the information that we had on fire with these guys to really portray how positive the economic development is going to be in this region.
It was an absolutely amazing testament of really the interest that is actually happening in the Upper Spencer Gulf, and right here Port Augusta is in the centre of all of that.
Community consultation on the Port Bonython hydrogen export hub will begin next month, while GFG Alliance has announced an electrolyser, power station and storage for green steel in Whyalla. And Hallett Group's green cement plant in Port Augusta is expected to create dozens of permanent jobs when operations commence by June next year.
From a construction point of view, we'll have over 100 jobs in construction. Then in the future operations, we're between 30 and 50 jobs full-time, and that will grow through the life of the project. We're a 40-year operation running 24/7. We will have greater than 50 jobs in the future.
With these projects expected to create many jobs during construction and operations, the forum also highlighted the need to avoid housing and supply shortages as well as bottlenecks.
It's really important that we work together as the three cities around very much service delivery, what is right for the particular communities, and ensure that we're supporting each other, and that's certainly something that we will continue to do.
Daniel Pizarro, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A multi-agency government task force is upgrading more than 40 SA housing homes in Port Pirie after an excess of lead was detected. The aim is to minimise dust entry into the homes where young children are at risk of lead exposure.
These improvements have been described as very overdue, but better late than never.
As a parent myself, I can't imagine the worry and anxiety that would be, to send your children outside and feel like they were going to come into contact with a really toxic substance all the time. And families in Port Pirie deserve to have that safe play space.
Near Star Port Pirie Council and the South Australian Government have joined forces to cover the estimated cost of $2.5 million to renovate these homes. It is known that sealing gaps in homes and covering bare dirt yards do make a difference to the amount of lead being detected.
We did trial this program with 5 homes and have seen that there has been some good success there. And this is about improving the surfaces and minimising the dust entry into homes.
Solomon Town and Pirie West are known as red areas, tainted by over 130 years of smelter operation. These locations have been the most affected.
Whilst these renovations have been carried out, these improvements will be carried out, those children will be relocated, those families will be relocated, and so that once the relocation has been done, those people will go back in there.
This is one of many lead abatement projects currently taking place in Port Pirie.
We're on a journey and we're getting on top of this here, and the main thing is to get the lead in blood of those children down, and I encourage parents to actually look at the opportunity to make sure to take every precaution.
Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Perfect Light Film Festival returned to Broken Hill over the weekend, with entries from locals and interstate alike. Like last year's event, the comedy acts were a huge hit, impressing the celebrity judging panel.
Back to where it all began. The Australian Army band Kapuka got the crowd pumping. Organisers happy to be in the fresh air of the Silver City for the movies.
Having to do it in Civic, and the Civic Centre is a beautiful facility, but it's just a different atmosphere completely out in Sturt Park. So we were stoked to have good weather, and of course the park is just so beautiful.
Those in attendance were treated to 12 short films, ranging from the serious to the not so serious, and even a music video. Ultimately, comedy once again came out on top, as the story of a robot vacuum cleaner called Dyson with Death got the $1,000 cheque.
Yeah, everyone knows that emotions are, transmittable and sort of infectious. When someone feels fear and you're standing next to them, you feel it too. Same with laughter and sadness and all of those emotions.
The petrification of Dee Wallace came in second, while fixing chairs by local filmmaker Jason King collected bronze. Festival director says big things are still to come for the Broken Hill local.
He's a great collaborator, and filmmaking is a collaborative, endeavour. And but he has a vision as well, and he's got a good eye. He's a hard worker. I can't speak highly enough of Jason. I think he's going to go, very far.
The judges Marcus Graham, Terry Serio, and Heidi May all thought the quality of films were top notch.
Watched a few local comedies, which were really good, and some interesting films from Melbourne and from Sydney.
Amazing. I mean, they're full of heart. The storytelling is true. The performances are terrific. There's some just natural talent here.
Like there's a truth and an honesty and a real sort of rawness that came in through their work, and felt very connected to the whole experience of being here.
And we'll do it all again next year. Joshua Mercer, 7, Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, residents in Port Broughton, Crystal Brook and Laura to have their say about the future of the region's health services. And important stormwater upgrades happening in Port Lincoln. Welcome back. The York and Mid-North Local Health Network is calling for some community consultation. The network wants to hear from residents in Crystal Brook, Laura, Port Broughton and surrounds. And locals are being encouraged to have their say about the future of health services in the region. Annabelle Francis explains.
Understanding local community needs and wants and barriers to accessing services. That's what the Local Health Network want to know.
The York and Northern Local Health Network is engaging in a network-wide service planning process, and we've completed many local service plans, and it's now time that we work with the communities across the Southern Flinders.
The network want to see regional areas receive the same high-quality health services that metropolitan areas do.
It's extremely important, and it's actually an issue of equity. Rural people have just as much right and should have as many expectations around accessing good quality services as close to home as possible.
All locations are encouraged to have their say, as each community is different and faces unique challenges.
We know that, some of the biggest needs are things like access to good quality aged care services to support older people, access to mental health, and also access to some of the more specialist type services.
To have your say, visit the York and Northern Local Health Network Facebook page or ask your local hospital and GPs. Annabelle Francis, 7, Spencer Gulf News.
Port Lincoln's stormwater management is getting an upgrade. The revamp will prevent erosion and keep the foreshore in good condition.
Works on the Eyre Street outfall are underway, rectifying previous damage.
Several years ago, Council implemented a new stormwater pumping station at Eyre Street, and there was a previous installation here on the beach. Due to a range of factors, that has failed. So we're now investing around $150,000 into remediating that issue here.
This time attempting a new plan.
We've effectively excavated down to solid sand. We'll be rebuilding that back up with sand-filled geofab textile bags, which will create that solid base.
This will allow water to flow out with minimal erosion caused to the beach and boat ramps.
For anyone that's been to our foreshore beach over the last few years, you will have noticed a little bit of erosion occurring down in the yacht club as a result of the failure of the previous outfall. So this work that we're currently undertaking will remediate that.
The work began several weeks ago.
And subject to tidal and weather conditions, we would anticipate within the next 2 to 3 weeks the works will be complete.
Council CEO Matthew Morgan thanks the community for their patience, and I think he sums it up best.
The end goal here is to increase the amenity of the beach and reduce that erosion that we were previously having from that outfall.
Alison Hall, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us. After the break, Port Lincoln's Riding for the Disabled receives a much-needed grant to make their premises even more inclusive. And what a show! Musical comedy act the Jingle Brothers impressed the Spencer Golf, so much so they want to come back. Welcome back. Variety SA visited Port Lincoln today as part of its four-wheel drive adventure, raising money for kids who are sick, disadvantaged or living with a disability. The children's charity stopping by Riding for the Disabled to hand over a grant.
It was an eventful day at Riding for the Disabled, with classes on this morning, the arrival of Variety SA this afternoon, and a pop-up op shop. And why the visit from Variety SA?
They've kindly given us a grant which we're going to use to improve the apron and the entry to our mounting shed, which is going to make it safer and easier for some of our disabled clients to come into the shed.
The almost $5,000 grant will be used to expand the door and install a ramp.
It is very important, and also some of the funding is going to be used to cover the bus that we hire.
They're receiving the funding because their services are vital.
I do this because it helps with my sensory needs. It also teaches me how to be assertive and be more vocal. All the things I don't like to do, it makes me come and do it, which actually really helps.
They're using it to encourage them with their confidence and social interaction. And Ellie Mae used to ride when she was younger and really, really wanted to learn to ride again.
Anyone who wants to get involved is more than welcome.
Anybody who's able-bodied would like to come out and help us. We've got many areas that you can help with. If you're a horsey person and you really enjoy working with horses, there's a great need here.
Liz saying they really appreciate the community's support.
Through people doing work for us, through money, through the cans and bottles and also the little drop boxes in the shops. We've got a very generous community here and we're very grateful.
I'm here with Huey, a former carriage driving pony who's been donated to Riding for the Disabled. The organisation is coming up on 20 years and you can get involved by checking out their Facebook page or their website. Alison Hall, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The Jingle Brothers have wrapped up their Spencer Golf tour with an intimate performance at Spear Creek near Port Augusta. The music comedy duo says visiting the region was awesome and they've promised to return.
A pleasant Saturday night in the Flinders Ranges. The sound of music, singing and laughing wafting across Spear Creek from the Jingle Brothers as they say farewell to their Spencer Golf tour.
We had a good time and had some good shows and got to see a lot of the locals, so yeah, really enjoyed it.
I'm exhausted at the moment. It's going to be really good to get home, but just to see the people of South Australia was mighty and to experience all the different places, each one has to offer, like the vineyards and it's unbelievable.
Guests enjoy Jolly Jingo's music, who sang well-known songs as well as his own. Steady Eddie cracked jokes, especially about their hometown of Gympie and Jolly's music profession.
You forget the words, it's la la la.
That's improvisation.
Look, I'm always going to say Gympie's better. You know, I've lived there around the area for nearly 30 years, so, what can I say? Home is home.
Not many people speak highly of it, but we love it, it's unreal. We're like the only people that can put a sentence together, and we got our own teeth. We're like superstars there.
The Jingle Brothers say they'll launch their WA tour from the Spencer Gulf later this year.
We're going to buy it through here, go across the Nullarbor and then start our Western Australian tour from here. It's going to be fantastic. We can't wait.
Daniel Pizarro, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us. After the break, cricket might be over and local footy is yet to start. But there's plenty of other sports still going strong, including softball in Port Pirie. And it's looking like a wet week in the Spencer Gulf. We'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. It's not just cricket that's winding down. Softball is also coming to a close with the preliminary final played in Port Pirie over the weekend. There was also the final round of the Port Lincoln women's football. Joshua Mercer has this week's sports wrap.
Checkmates have beaten favourites Tigers to book their spot in this year's grand final. A large number of spectators turned out to watch the game at Leonard Park. The Checkmates stepped up to bat first, managing to bring in 4 runs. Tigers failed to respond due to some good pitching by Rachel Ciampi. The Checkmates kept the Tigers scoreless for the first 2 innings, with good infield work by Jackie Bateson and Meta Di Geronimo. The Checkmates continued to make it hard for the Tigers, with Melissa Di Geronimo, Gab Dunning and Jackie Beasley putting runners in scoring positions, with 5 more Checkmate players making it home. Tigers rallied at the bottom of the 5th innings, with Amy Van Roos-Mallon helping her team out. The Tigers had the chance to level the game, but were unable to due to the fine coverage of Bridie Ellis-Nunn. Moving across to Port Lincoln women's football, and Wayback have won the minor premiership. They beat Lincoln South over the weekend by 18 points. In the other games, Mallee Park had a big win over Tasman, 52-11. And Marble Range were too good for Boston, beating them by 10 points. Wayback will meet Boston this Friday in the first week of the finals. In Port Augusta basketball, Titans defeated the Eagles 58-48. Billy Joe Russell top scoring for the Titans with 15, while Hunter Press was the next highest with 14. Cameron Bembell was the Eagles' top point scorer with 17. In the other game, Wildcats had a 5-point win over Cobras. Cooper Promnitz posting the highest points for the Wildcats with 20. Brody Tuip was the Cobras' highest scorer with 12. The Eagles will face the Wildcats tonight at 9 p.m. And finally, on to Broken Hill netball. Last year's A-grade champions Jesters stay at the top of the table with a win over Westside 30-24. Jesters are yet to lose a game this season. In the other game, West Flames Robins ran out winners over West Flames Black 28-17. That ends this week's Sports Wrap. Contact us through our Facebook page if you'd like to be featured on our bulletin.
Cheers, Josh. But it's time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Alex Sykes. Alex, we had a fair bit of rain today.
Good evening. More so this morning, Maddie, especially in places like Pirie, which really don't see rain all that often. The Opal capital recorded 14 millimetres overnight, the most since January. Broken Hill also had a tiny pattering this morning, but not as much as initially anticipated. Temperature-wise, Port Augusta recorded 29 degrees this afternoon. The Silver City reached 28, partly cloudy in 26 in Port Pirie. Looking more broadly at today's weather map, 26 in Woodner and Whyalla as well, just 24 degrees in Pirie and Kadina, a degree cooler in the capital. Taking a look at the satellite image now, a low pressure system southwest of Kangaroo Island continues to weaken as it moves east. On the Gulf waters tomorrow, west to southwesterly winds 15 to 20 knots, tending south to southwesterly early in the morning. Seas between 1 and 1.5 metres and south to southwesterly swell around a metre. Possible showers and set to reach a high of 22 degrees in Port Lincoln tomorrow. A shower or two clearing around Cleve, around 20 degrees there. Mostly sunny, top of 23 in Woodner. Possible morning showers around Whyalla, a high of 22 degrees there. Port Augusta partly cloudy between 16 and 23. Kadina can expect a shower or two and 23 degrees as well. A shower or two on the way for Port Pirie as well. well. A high of 24 there tomorrow, between 12 and 20 in Clare. Showers clearing, partly cloudy in Broken Hill, 24 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, possible showers in Whyalla and Adelaide on Thursday. Partly cloudy conditions everywhere else. Just 22 degrees in Broken Hill, Port Pirie, Port Augusta and Port Lincoln. Moving on to Friday's outlook now. A bit of rain expected around the extremities in Pirie and Port Lincoln. Temperatures between 21 and 22 in those cities. Elsewhere, partly cloudy conditions. 24 is the warmest it will get. That's in Port Pirie. And finally, taking a look at the forecast for Saturday. A sunny top of 21 in Whyalla, partly cloudy everywhere else. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. I'll see you a little later with an update. It's back to you, Maddie.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Tuesday. I'm Madeline Kerr. From all of us here, thanks for joining us. I'll have updates a little later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.